The maintenance job. Marcus. Chen wiped the sweat from his forehead as he floated in the zero-gravity maintenance bay of Deep Space Station. Omega-7, 20 years of fixing starships, had taught him to expect the unexpected, but today felt different. The massive vessel before him, the Aurora's Edge, sat like a sleeping giant among the other decommissioned ships awaiting repair or salvage. Another day, another mystery ship, Marcus muttered to himself, checking his work tablet for the assignment. Details: the Aurora's Edge was listed as a failed research vessel, abandoned 3 years ago after what the reports called catastrophic system failures. The new owners, Stellaris Corporation, wanted it restored to basic operational status for historical preservation purposes. Marcus had seen plenty of corporate cover stories in his career. Big companies buying old ships for historical preservation usually meant they were after something valuable hidden in the vessel's technology or databanks. Still, the pay was good, and Stellaris had a reputation for treating their contractors fairly. He activated his magnetic boots and walked along the ship's hull, examining the external damage. Micrometeorite impacts and radiation scoring told the story of a vessel that had spent considerable time in deep space. But as he worked his way toward the primary hull breach, something caught his eye that made him pause. Strange blue-green crystalline formations protruded from several sections of the hull. Unlike anything he had encountered in 2 decades of ship repair, the crystals seemed to pulse with their own internal light, creating an almost hypnotic pattern. Marcus pulled out his scanner and ran a preliminary analysis. The readings were unlike anything in his database. "What the hell are you?" he whispered, leaning in for a closer look. As his scanner beam hit one of the larger crystal formations, something extraordinary happened. The crystal suddenly blazed with light, projecting a 3-dimensional hologram into the space around Marcus. He stumbled backward, nearly losing his magnetic footing as a figure materialized before him. The hologram showed a middle-aged woman in a captain's uniform, her face etched with exhaustion and determination. When she began to speak, her voice was clear despite the obvious age of the recording. "If you are seeing this message, then you have found the Aurora's Edge, and humanity may still have a chance," the hologram began. "My name is Captain Sarah Rodriguez, and what I am about to tell you will challenge everything you believe about humanity's place in the universe." Marcus quickly activated his personal recorder, his engineering instincts telling him this was far more important than routine maintenance. Captain Rodriguez continued, 3 years ago, we achieved what many thought impossible. We made contact with an alien civilization, not the hostile invaders that military strategists predicted, but a peaceful species called the Zelephans. They had been observing humanity for decades, waiting for us to mature enough for first contact. The hologram flickered slightly, but the captain's voice remained steady. The Zelephans offered us incredible gifts, clean energy technology, medical advances that could eliminate disease, and most importantly, membership in a galactic community of peaceful species. But certain elements within our own government and corporations saw this as a threat to their power. Marcus felt a chill run down his spine. If this was true, it meant that humanity's first alien contact had been deliberately hidden from the public. Stellaris Corporation led the effort to sabotage our mission, Rodriguez continued. They could not allow peace to break out when their entire business model depends on conflict and the fear of alien invasion. They planted explosives on our ship and left us stranded in deep space with our Zelethan guests. The captain's image began to fade as the crystal's power waned. But her final words rang clear. The proof is in the quantum memory core. The coordinates for the Zealothan refuge ship are stored there. Find them. Marcus Chen. Yes, I know your name. The Zealothans told us you would be the one to discover this message. They have been watching, waiting for the right person to uncover the truth. The hologram vanished, leaving Marcus floating alone in the maintenance bay, his mind reeling. From what he had just witnessed, how could the captain have known his name 3 years before he even received this assignment? Unless the aliens really could see into the future somehow. Before he could process this revelation fully, the sound of approaching footsteps echoed through the bay. Marcus quickly sealed the crystal formations with a temporary hole patch and activated his tablet to show routine maintenance diagnostics. Mr. Chen, a woman's voice called out from the bay entrance. I am Director Catherine Walsh from Stellaris Corporation. I understand you have begun work on our acquisition. Marcus turned to see an impeccably dressed woman in her 50s, flanked by 2 security personnel in corporate uniforms. Something about her smile seemed forced, predatory even. Yes, ma'am. Just starting the external hull survey. Should have preliminary damage assessments ready by tomorrow. Director Walsh's eyes scanned the area where Marcus had been working, lingering on the freshly patched sections. I trust you will keep detailed records of everything you find. Stellaris values thoroughness in its contractors, of course. Though I should mention, I found some unusual crystalline formations in the hull. Probably some kind of exotic mineral pickup during deep space operations. Nothing that would affect the restoration work. Walsh's expression sharpened slightly. Crystalline formations. How interesting. We will want those analyzed immediately. Our science team will be arriving within the hour to collect samples. Marcus nodded, keeping his expression neutral despite the alarm bells ringing in his head. I will have them ready for collection. After Walsh and her security team departed, Marcus worked quickly to extract several of the crystal formations, carefully concealing the largest ones behind false hull panels he crafted with his portable fabrication unit. If Captain Rodriguez was telling the truth, these crystals might be humanity's only evidence of what really happened aboard the Auroras. Edged as he worked, Marcus could not shake the feeling that he was being watched. Several times he caught glimpses of movement in his peripheral vision, but whenever he turned to look, he found only empty space. The sensation was unsettling, as if invisible eyes were studying his every move. His tablet chimed with an incoming message from the station administrator. Corporate science team requesting immediate access to Aurora's edge. All maintenance work suspended pending their investigation. Marcus felt his stomach tighten. They were moving faster than he had expected. Whatever Stellaris was really after, they were not taking any chances that it might slip through their fingers again. He made a quick decision that would change the course of his life forever. Instead of returning to his quarters as instructed, Marcus activated the ship's emergency lighting and made his way into the Aurora's edge itself. If Captain Rodriguez was right about the quantum memory core, he needed to find it before Stellaris's people arrived. The interior of the Aurora's edge was a tomb of advanced human technology. Emergency power kept life support running at minimal levels, casting eerie shadows through corridors that should have been filled with the sounds of a working research vessel. Marcus followed the ship's schematic displays toward the central computer core, his footsteps echoing in the empty hallways as he walked deeper into the ship. Marcus began to notice more of the strange crystalline formations growing from the walls and ceiling. Unlike the external crystals, these seemed more integrated with the ship's systems, as if they had been deliberately cultivated rather than randomly deposited. The quantum memory core was located in the ship's most secure section, protected by multiple layers of encryption and physical barriers. But Marcus had not earned his reputation as the best ship engineer in the outer colonies by accepting limitations. He connected his tablet to the ship's maintenance interface and began the delicate process of bypassing the security protocols. Hours passed as Marcus worked, his fingers dancing across holographic keyboards and diagnostic interfaces. The ship's quantum memory contained petabytes of data, but he was looking for one specific file set, the records that Captain Rodriguez had mentioned in her message. Finally, at 0347 hours station time, Marcus found what he was looking for. Hidden beneath layers of encrypted data was a complete record of humanity's first contact with the Zelithans. Video logs, scientific data, communication transcripts, and, most importantly, the coordinates of the Zelithan refuge ship that was apparently still waiting somewhere in deep space for humanity to fulfill its promise of peaceful contact. Asterisk. As Marcus downloaded the files to his personal storage device, he realized that his life had just taken an irreversible turn. In his hands was proof that humanity had been denied its rightful place in a galactic community, all because corporate interests had prioritized profit over progress. The sound of approaching footsteps in the corridor outside the computer core told Marcus that his time was up. Stellaris's security team had finally tracked him down. Asterisk. The truth unveiled. Marcus Chen had perhaps 30 seconds before Stellaris security reached the quantum memory core. His engineering mind worked frantically, calculating options and probabilities, with the same precision he applied to repairing damaged starship engines. The data he had discovered was too important to lose, but simply walking out with it was no longer possible. Mr. Chen, Director Walsh's voice echoed through the ship's communication system. "We know you are in the computer core. Please step out slowly with your hands visible. We simply want to discuss your findings." Marcus knew better than to trust that reasonable tone. He had seen what happened to contractors who discovered inconvenient truths about corporate operations. They usually disappeared into reassignment programs that nobody ever returned from. Instead of surrendering, Marcus did what engineers do best. He improvised. Using his maintenance access codes, he began uploading the Zelithon contact data to every communication relay within range of Deep Space Station Omega-7. If Stellaris wanted to suppress the truth, they would have to suppress it across dozens of star systems simultaneously. The upload progress bar crawled across his tablet screen with agonizing slowness. 30%, 40%, 50%. Marcus could hear security personnel setting up equipment outside the sealed blast doors of the computer core. They were preparing to cut their way in. "Mr. Chen," Walsh's voice had lost its artificial warmth. "You were interfering with classified corporate property. Surrender now, and we can discuss a very generous compensation package for your cooperation." Marcus almost laughed at the absurdity of it. They were offering to pay him to help hide the greatest discovery in human history. Instead of responding, he focused on the upload, now at 70% completion. That was when the lights went out. Emergency power kicked in a moment later, bathing the computer core in red light, but the interruption had been deliberate. Marcus's upload had been terminated at 74%. Not complete, but enough to get the essential data to several outer colony communication networks. "Backup power only," Mr. Chen, Walsh announced. "Your little broadcast attempt has been contained. Now please, let us resolve this situation professionally." Marcus looked at his tablet screen and smiled. Walsh was wrong about the containment, but she did not need to know that yet. During the power interruption, his tablet had automatically switched to quantum burst transmission mode, a feature designed to ensure critical engineering data could be transmitted even during emergency situations. The complete Xenophon files were already propagating through subspace communication. Networks at faster-than-light speeds. The blast doors began to glow, cherry red as industrial cutting lasers started their work. Marcus had perhaps 5 minutes before security breached the computer core. He used that time to access the Aurora's Edge's navigation system and input the coordinates from Captain Rodriguez's hidden message. The coordinates pointed to a location in the Kepler 442 system, approximately 47 light-years from Earth. According to the navigational data, a Xenophon refuge ship called the Harmony of Spheres was maintaining position there, still waiting for humanity to fulfill its promise of peaceful contact. The cutting lasers finished their work, and the blast doors fell inward with a thunderous crash. Marcus made a decision that surprised even himself. Instead of surrendering to the security team, he activated the Aurora's Edge's emergency autopilot and set course for the Kepler 442 system. "What the hell do you think you were doing?" Director Walsh demanded as she stepped through the smoking breach in the blast doors, flanked by 6 armed security personnel. "Something I should have done the moment I found those crystals," Marcus replied, his hands dancing across the ship's control interfaces. "I am going to finish what Captain Rodriguez started." The Aurora's Edge shuddered as its engines came online for the first time in 3 years. Marcus had spent 20 years learning how to make dead ships fly again, and despite the vessel's apparent damage, its core systems were still functional. "You cannot possibly pilot a research vessel of this size alone," Walsh said, though Marcus noticed her security team was backing toward the exit as the ship's acceleration began to build. "Maybe not under normal circumstances," Marcus admitted, "but these crystals are not just decorative. They are Xenophon biotechnology designed to interface with human neural patterns. Captain Rodriguez and her crew figured out how to integrate them with the ship's systems before Stellaris sabotaged their mission." As if responding to his words, the crystalline formations throughout the ship began to pulse with renewed energy. Marcus felt a strange tingling sensation as quantum filaments extended from the nearest crystal cluster, making contact with the neural interface ports in his maintenance suit. Suddenly, Marcus was no longer alone in his own mind. A gentle, melodic presence spoke to him in thoughts rather than words, welcoming him as a friend and offering assistance with the ship's unfamiliar systems. The Xenophon biotechnology was still active, still waiting patiently for humanity to accept their gift of partnership. With his new, alien-enhanced understanding of the ship's capabilities, Marcus executed a perfect departure from Deep Space Station Omega-7, leaving Director Walsh and her security team stranded in the station's maintenance bay. The Aurora's Edge accelerated smoothly toward the edge of the solar system, its hybrid human Xenophon propulsion system operating at efficiency levels that should have been impossible. Behind him, Marcus knew that Stellaris Corporation would be mobilizing every resource to intercept him before he could reach the Xenophon refuge ship. They had spent 3 years covering up humanity's first contact with aliens, and they would not allow one stubborn engineer to unravel their carefully constructed deception. But Marcus had advantages they did not expect. The Xenophon biotechnology enhanced his understanding of quantum mechanics and space navigation far beyond normal human capabilities. More importantly, his broadcasts had reached their destinations across the outer colonies, and the reaction was spreading faster than any corporate damage control could contain. On Proxima Station, scientists were analyzing the alien contact data and confirming its authenticity. On New Geneva, journalists were breaking the story of humanity's suppressed first contact. On Mars, protesters were demanding government accountability for the cover-up. The truth was spreading like wildfire across human space, carried by the same communication networks that Stellaris had built to maintain their corporate empire. As the Aurora's Edge entered hyperspace, beginning its journey to the Kepler 442 system, Marcus felt a profound sense of responsibility settling on his shoulders. He was no longer just a ship engineer. He had become humanity's unofficial ambassador to the galaxy, carrying the hopes of an entire species toward their first official meeting with alien intelligence. The journey would take 3 weeks at maximum sustainable hyperspace velocity. During that time, Marcus learned to work in partnership with the Zealothan biotechnology, his human creativity and engineering intuition combining with alien scientific knowledge to optimize the ship's performance beyond anything its original designers had imagined. When the Aurora's Edge finally dropped out of hyperspace at the coordinates Captain Rodriguez had provided, Marcus found himself face to face with the most beautiful sight in his engineering career. The harmony of spheres was a living ship, grown rather than built, its organic curves and crystalline structures forming patterns that seemed to shift and flow like frozen music as the two vessels approached each other. Marcus received a communication in the same wordless thoughts he had grown accustomed to from the ship's integrated Zealothan biotechnology. The message was simple, profound, and filled with hope. "Welcome, friend Marcus. We have been waiting for you to come home." 3 months later, Marcus stood in the assembly hall of New Geneva, addressing representatives from every human colony world. Behind him, holographic displays showed images of the Zealothan homeworld, their technology, and their offers of peaceful cooperation. The vote was unanimous. Humanity would accept membership in the galactic community of peaceful species. Director Walsh and several other Stellaris executives sat in the defendants section, awaiting trial for crimes against humanity. The corporation's attempts to suppress alien contact had failed completely, undone by one engineer's refusal to accept that some truths were too dangerous to share. As Marcus concluded his presentation, he reflected on how a simple maintenance job had changed not just his life, but the entire future of human civilization. Sometimes, he thought, the most important discoveries came from refusing to ignore the unusual, the unexpected, the impossible. Outside the assembly hall, construction crews were already beginning work on Earth's first interstellar embassy, designed using a combination of human engineering and Zealothan biotechnology. It would be the first of many collaborations between species who had learned that the universe was far less lonely and far more wonderful than anyone had dared to imagine.